his iPad.
On the table.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Consider of any changes, additions, or removals to the agenda.
Yep, I have 3. 7, agenda item number 7. We are going to table item 7C, Public Safety Building Outlook. That will be on the August meeting. And agenda item 10A, we'd like to change to emergency compactor replacement. And 13, in addition, I would like to add, it was asked that we add, consider waiving waiving fee for late homestead filing, which has been done by the board in the past.
Okay. So moving on, approved minutes of previous meeting for June 2nd, 2025 and June 16th, 2025 with joint special meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to approve minutes as presented.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Being no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Ayes have it. Comments from citizens? Bruce?
Bruce Schmidt, Chapman Road. I just wanted to, and I could have talked to the town manager, but I think it's important that this go on the record. Back in 2017, we were told we were going to have a solar array up on Barker Field, and I think it's time that the board, maybe through the chair, through the town manager, the company is letting aspects of it go to look terrible. There's been one section that was damaged by a tree, and it's been over a year that it's been sitting like that. There was another section from this storm that we had in the winter that is damaged, and those that drive by every day, it just doesn't look good. And we were told that you couldn't see, and I do think they've done a good job with the landscaping up on the flat section of the road. And when the leaves, it's not as bad, but when there's no leaves, it just doesn't a good look. And I think this company needs to be held accountable. And I wanted it to go on record that I think that the board needs to have someone reach out and find out what the time frame is on this. Because you drive by there and you can see it, and there's been, like I said, there's one that's been over a year that's been damaged. So I just wanted to mention that to the board.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Brendan, you gonna look into that?
I will.
Okay. Any other comments from citizens? Moving on, department head reports. Everybody has them? Any discussion? All good on department head reports? Okay, moving on. Vermont Emergency Management Evaluation Project Approval, 12 Meadow Street.
So this is a project we've discussed in the past, Vermont Emergency Management, in lieu of FEMA buyouts, offered a program that was elevation projects for residential structures within the community. They provided most towns in Vermont with a certain amount of dollars. Town of Ludlow was provided $500,000 for projects that fell within this category. We had two projects that have gone, one that has gone through the process and one that is going through the process for this project. So basically elevating their structure rather than taking a buyout through FEMA. The one that is on the docket tonight is 21 Meadow Street. That's Kathy and Alan Couch. We have worked through that process with Vermont Emergency Management. Vermont Historical Preservation meets all the criteria that is required by VEM to be awarded funds from the town. We have those funds in hand. So now it is up to the board to award, decide if they are going to award that, and then we work on with a memorandum of understanding between ourselves and the homeowner to facilitate those repairs and elevation of the structure. It's very similar to the FEMA buyout process.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I make a motion.
So I guess the question would be, I don't know if you would like to hear from Alan and Kathy. I know they can give you, Alan, if you maybe want to give an overview of the project as to exactly what you're going to do, and then the board can make a recommendation on the.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Alan Couch, 21 Meadow Street. The chair said 12 Meadow Street in the opening. I just want to make sure we're corrected. It's 21 Meadow Street. As Brendan said, it's a program. The state was given some funds from FEMA to oversee this project. They created this grant program, the Community Resilience and Disaster Mitigation Fund, that they've have been trying to continually fund the project, but that hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it'll happen in the future. We applied for this, as Brendan said, went through a rigorous process. We hired a structural engineer to make sure our home was structurally sound and safe enough to elevate. He came up with plans for a new foundation. Basically, we're going to cave in our existing block foundation, put in a new foundation, 4-foot frost wall, 5 feet above grade, and create a crawl space, basically a slab at grade crawl space, and lift the house up approximately 4 feet. In the FEMA hazard mitigation grants, they require 1 foot above base flood elevation, but our legislators in Montpelier had the foresight to require this grant to go 2 feet above base flood elevation, because we're pretty sure BFE is going to change soon. So anyway, 5 towns were involved in this: Montpelier, Barry, Hardwick, Cambridge, and Ludlow. And Kathy and I are fortunate enough to have met the criteria of the grant program, and we've been dotting our T's and crossing our I's to make sure we fulfill the requirements of this grant program, and we're ready to move forward almost 2 years after the flood. And again, we're very fortunate. Thank Brendan for his help in applying for this grant. And yeah, so basically we're lifting our house up 4 feet and trying to stay out of the floodwaters in the future. And let me just say, I guess the benefits, we considered a buyout, but we thought the benefits of elevating the home still keeps some of the tax base in town. you know, we're providing work for numerous contractors in the area. These monies are spent on the elevation alone. We have insurance from our, money from our insurance settlement to, you know, redo the inside, which we haven't done yet, pending the elevation. So it's, my opinion, a great program, not only because we are benefiting from it, but I think it's good to keep the neighborhoods and do what we can to protect properties in the future. And I'll entertain any questions if anybody has one or two.
Do you have a cost of what it will take to do your project?
We had most of the big dollar items estimates in fall of '23, and we were up around $258,000 at that time. And speaking with some of the contractors recently, they said their prices have gone up, the material prices have gone up a little bit, but they're going to try to keep it within the range that they had said, you know, a year and a half ago when we got the bids. Barry was looking at projects, and they figured their elevation projects would be around $300,000. It's a considerable amount, but as I said, I think the cost-benefit analysis is in favor of doing the project.
Anybody else?
Brendan, is this a matching thing or? Yeah, so I guess my only thing would be, do we know what that other project might cost, of just trying to understand how much we're gonna,
The other project?
yeah.
So these projects are only eligible for up to 250,000.
Okay, so it is
yeah.
split it down the middle.
It is, yeah.
We have a motion from the board.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Couch.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve 21 Meadow Street.
Second.
Open for discussion. Being no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it. Ludlow Fire Department ambulance discussion, critical care transportation.
So these are, I've asked Chief Whalen to come and discuss. We have two items here to discuss. One we've talked about previously, which is the critical care transporter, also called CCP, which is 30,000 foot view, is us providing transport to other hospitals to, you know, over a long distance, but also at a level that is critical care. We're very fortunate that we have folks that are trained and willing to do that, so it's at a point to really take a strong look at that and, you know, continue to help generate some income and revenue for the town, but from the ambulance service, while also, you know, I'll say before I defer to Chief Whalen that this is something we've looked at. You know, Stephanie and Mary Mancino with the ambulance department have worked very hard over the last year to get this to a point where we could go. So thanks to them and thanks to Chief Whalen, but this is something that we're at a point where we think we can do it, where necessarily it won't be a detriment to the town, it will be a positive. And the insurance billing rates, I'll defer to Chief Whalen on that as well. But
good evening. Deputy Chief Grover is going to join me up here to help answer any questions that I cannot. So to start off with the CCT, critical care transport, critical care paramedic, something that Stephanie and Captain Mancino worked on for years. And about 6 months ago, we got our endorsement to be able to go out and provide that service. So essentially, when you think about what is a critical care transport, something that's really going to be that more actually like in the ER kind of transport. We're primarily thinking to start with locally from some places such as Springfield to Dartmouth. And unfortunately, folks, even within our own community, are waiting sometimes hours or days for a service that is actually capable of going out and providing that type of transport service. Within our region, not a ton of services that are capable of doing that. Bennington Rescue, Regional Ambulance, White River Valley, Rescue Inc., and then Upper Valley. That is nothing really around our geographic area, and I'd say it's probably once a week that we get a phone call from Springfield seeing if we're able to do that. So there is a need. How does that look on our staffing at the moment? Currently, we have two critical care paramedics that are certified to that level. We have one other paramedic who's currently working on getting his certification to be able to work on that as well. The transport would need one EMT and then one of those medics to be able to go and do that. Certainly, it's not something that we could go do 24/7, 365. It would be more of a when we are available, and if there is a need, are we capable of doing it? As we think about that more, our priority has to go towards the emergency calls, not only within Ludlow, but all of the towns that we contract with, and making sure that we are capable and ready to go support those needs at the same time. And right now is kind of that flux of a little bit of a downturn in calls, and the thought would be maybe we can start trying it out to see how it works and not have any negative effect on actual patient care for those folks having emergencies within our community. Certainly with all of these things, there's benefits and rewards. And certainly costs associated with those things. As we break down the different overtimes, the wear and tear on vehicles, we figured out those numbers, and I certainly wouldn't come speak to you if I didn't think that there was revenue, and we'll talk about where that revenue goes here in a minute, because it shouldn't be thought of as a for-profit concept, but how do we better the community as we go forward in the future. Couple things that come into play with that. I have difficulty saying, let's take one of our 2 ambulances and send it away on a transport. We're gonna come to a time here in October where we will have 3 ambulances if we don't sell the older one, and we're to keep that for transports. And that would be my recommendation, that we keep that 3rd ambulance. And then with the costs associated with upfitting that ambulance would cost around $80,000. I think that's on the high end of numbers. My anticipation, and so just one step back, the equipment that we would need for that, we are able to get 0% financing that can be deferred over the course of 4 years. Looking at the costs associated and the potential revenue gained from that, I would anticipate we would be able to pay off those costs within no more than 2 years, probably more closer to a year, with the funds that would be brought in from doing those transports. That is a really short version of all of it. The big thing to me is the fact that with that 3rd ambulance, we would still maintain the concept of getting the 1st ambulance out the door, having an on-call for the 2nd, and then if we were able to do that transport, have more folks that were able to go do that call as well. And again, that concept of if we have 2 calls at the same time, that we're able to go to that. And additionally, until someone is truly loaded in that bus for the transport, they would still be available for calls within our area. I'm happy to take any questions you all may have on that.
Anybody have any questions?
So are you, based on that $80,000 upfit, covering it in maybe a year, this could be $80,000 a year for potential revenue for the department?
I think as time goes, we'll see what that number really turns out to be. From what we see being the need, I think it could certainly be much greater than that number, and it could certainly be much less. Again, we need to find that happy place of what's not burning our folks out of doing too much, and also maintaining our operational abilities locally. To also mention, our currently certified folks are chomping at the bit, because they certainly invested their time and energy into it. But they also are going about the fact that it's going to make them a better provider out on the streets during their normal calls, because they're going to get thrown into situations that they don't see every day and on a much more frequent basis.
And does any of this equipment, would it be used for like an emergency situation where we need to go and, go to a car accident or whatever that might be, and we're better equipped because we have some of this equipment?
Yeah, so the redundancy would be the first part. So one thing we need is another monitor to go in a third ambulance. So that would give us a third monitor. If one went out of service or had to go out, it would be something that we would still then have two. And then the other thing we're looking at is ventilators. And certainly as the not subject matter expert on that, Stephanie could talk more about it, but throughout other procedures we would do within the ambulance itself on our normal calls, potential to save tens of thousands of dollars a year. So instead of having to use how much are our CPAP kits?
So if someone's having, if they have like congestive heart failure or COPD, they use something that's called a CPAP machine to help them breathe. Currently we use disposable ones. We carry 4 on each truck plus a backstock, and each one of them are $130. So if you were to buy the ventilators, that cuts the cost down to $20. And that's just one more piece that the ventilators can do that wouldn't just be for the critical care. It would be used on 911 calls every week.
Anybody else? I think we're good.
Great.
Okay. Mr. Town Manager, is that something we need a motion on, or we're just good to?
I guess so.
operate
Is the
with?
board is that something we want to proceed with, or we want to?
We're not looking for a formal motion, just a general consensus, and I would believe that the critical care transport would be something that I would be in favor of exploring.
We will continue.
Anybody else in favor?
Agreed.
Okay. Consensus is to move forward.
Yeah, thank you very much, and certainly we will keep you apprised of all that as we go. Next thing to discuss is ambulance fee schedules, and I'm going to approach the board. We're going to discuss ambulance fee schedules. Certainly, ambulance fees are not something, and even medical fees are not something anyone really wants to talk about. Deputy Chief Grover approached me and talked about that it had been, I think, 4 or 5 years since we have discussed what our fee schedule is for the ambulance service. And our billing company was able to produce an average of all of the fee schedules for Vermont departments that they do billing for, and we were the lowest one by a couple $100 in each area, and even more than that on the average. So the schedule you have in front of you is a proposed fee schedule based on, so we took all of those numbers and moved our number to the average line throughout the state. And again, that is just the average of those agencies that use the same billing company. And also within that, it shows the current fee that we have, it has the proposed fee, and then what the difference is. And then on the far right-hand side, it does show what the top 50 averages are across the country. Throughout New England, and what our numbers are in comparison to that, and they are still considerably low compared to that New England average. But trying to move in with Vermont averages, that's what we are looking at. As we think about these things, our Medicaid and our Medicare revenues would remain the same. They are what they are. Right now, on our balance sheet today, the cost of the ambulance for the last fiscal year was approximately $1.1 million, and with a revenue of $721,000, which shows that the cost of Ludlow taxpayers is around $379,000. As we discussed that, and I think those the numbers by town were in the department head report. Certainly Ludlow has the greatest amount of calls within our response area. It's really difficult for me to say, just looking at the numbers right now, of what that increase would actually do. And I think it would take us about 2 years to actually see what that cost increase would do. But I would suspect that we would see about $100,000 increase on the revenue side as a minimum. That all said, and for everyone that's here and for everyone that's listening out on the World Wide Web or going to watch us on TV later, the Ludlow Ambulance Service subscription plan is out there for folks. And, essentially, yes, we're still going to bill your insurance, but after that, if you're a member, it covers it. So please reach out to Deputy Chief Grover and myself for more information on this. We do extend this out to those folks in our neighboring towns that contract with us.
It's going out in all the tax bills.
And it's going out in all the tax bills. So everybody should be seeing this. It's been around for quite a while. And it really is a great thing that the community ambulance service, back when it was a nonprofit, started. And I think it's really good that we keep it going for the community.
Does this help with insurance? Like if we have this fee at $1,300, when before it was $725, are they gonna pay what they pay, or are they gonna honor that a little bit more?
So I'll let Stephanie correct me if I'm wrong here. So let's say you have Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we submit the insurance claim. They come back and say, all right, we're going to cover X amount. Right now, our percentages of what's covered is around 99%, which would tell me that there's probably more out there that they're willing to, what their minimums are, their maximums are. So I would say we will see the majority more from those private insurances coming back from the insurance company. There is still some that potentially gets put back onto the actual person, or if that person doesn't have insurance, they would see that cost as well. And there is a process of going through that. Did I get that pretty close to right? All right.
And how about, do we have, I understand the averages, but like regionally in our area, are we really low, or is it, do you think this average is something that makes sense for our general area?
Part of me, we went through it a couple different ways, and we took out the highest number and the lowest number of the averages and tried to see how that changed the different numbers. There were a couple numbers as we looked at it that were kind of struck us as just obviously not accurate, so something wasn't right. I think the numbers that we're proposing are a good place for us to be, and we continue to monitor it as we move forward and see where those costs go.
Mr. Whalen, on your review on page 3, your monthly review, first item will be the current fee schedule for the ambulance service. We're able to identify through our billing company that we have the lowest fees of all the services they bill for in the state of Vermont. That's in pertaining to this.
Yes, so that would be your current fee that is there. So that is on the current fee line. They were able to show us those exact numbers, and that of the departments that they do billing for, we are the lowest in the state.
So if you're looking for a consensus, Mr. McNamara, it would be my position that we move forward with the proposed fee schedule change.
I think for this, we would like a motion to approve.
Motion?
Yeah.
Not
To approve the proposed, if that's what this is,
Need a motion
what we
for
want to
this.
do, make a motion.
Thank you. In the future, this may be just my own misreading. If it's listed under discussion, I don't consider it a motionable
Okay.
item.
Noted.
Well, I guess I'll make a motion then. I will approve the proposed schedule change. That would be my motion.
Any discussion? Bruce?
I don't think you can do that, and if you do, you might want to go back and change the agenda.
Because it's under discussion.
Do that,
Okay.
because it is under discussion.
Yep.
Question I have is, what are the rates now, and what are they going to? And then what is the bad debt that you have
1 second, Bruce. So I'll go over the bad debt first and try and work you through that spreadsheet, and then we'll talk about the fees themselves. So this is for the calendar year of January 1st, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2024. And total charges during that time were $731,553. Total allowed, and the majority of that, and I can break it down further, but the majority of that is going to the Medicaid and Medicare, which only has certain amounts that they will pay back at. So out of that 731,000, we saw 509,000 come back to us, how much was allowed. And then the amount that was collected was 424,000. And the percentage of that was collected was 83%. As we look at that further, so private insurance rates, private insurance companies, we collected roughly 92,000, we'll say, 92%. Medicaid, Medicare was roughly 97%. And then as we get into the self-insured and uninsured is where it drops down to an average of 23%. As far as fees go, and I'll just kind of go through the emergency calls themselves. So basic life safety emergency call, the current fee is $725. And then we were proposing, again, the average from our billing company for the Vermont departments is $1,365. The ALS emergency transport, there's two different kinds of those there.
Ben, you want to just state the average too, because that'll make a big difference for them.
Yep, give me 1 second. We are the average. So
Your proposed fee, and then what you're saying, ComStar top 50 average is $1,769.
okay, yep. So throughout New England, so we proposed 1365. The top 50 agencies in New England is at 1,769. A non-emergency basic life safety call is the same cost for us, 1,365. And again, ComStar top 50 in New England average of 1,769. ALS 1, we have as a current fee of $975. That would be moved up to $2,025. And the top 50 average for New England is $2,583. The ALS 2, we currently charge $1,275 per call. That would go up to $2,859. The top 50 average is $3,684. The ALS non-emergency transport would be a currently $975. We're looking to bump that to $2,044. The top 50 average is $2,583. And then mileage, and mileage is done per loaded mile, so that is actual time with a patient in the ambulance, that is it. Our current fee is $20 a mile. The proposed fee is $40. On that one, it fluctuates. There's some departments that are charging $50, $60 in that one. We did go with, so we went with 40. The top 50 average is 41 for New England on that one. Thank you.
Okay, being that we had this under discussion, Ben, is it going to be crucial if we don't approve this till next meeting?
We're happy to come back.
Oh, you don't really need to come back, we'll just put it on the agenda for
You
an
can put it
approval.
on as an action item.
As
That's
an
my
action
fault.
item.
I listed it under discussion.
Everybody in favor of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's absolutely fine.
Ben, what is ALS?
Advanced life support.
Got it.
Ooh, Jean?
So our response area, so that would be anywhere that we go, whether we got called mutual aid to a neighboring agency. But currently we have obviously the town and village of Ludlow, but then we have contracts with Cavendish Proctorsville, and then also Mount Holly, and then Plymouth.
Anybody else got any questions? Okay, moving on.
One real last thing to throw out there is the ambulance service did their first ever open house for car seat installation today, and that will be happening every first Monday of the month at the firehouse by the ambulance
Okay.
service.
Thank you to the
That's
staff for doing that.
Yeah, thank
providing
you.
that.
Thanks Stephanie and the rest of the crew, because they're putting that time and energy into it. It's great.
Thank you.
I'm glad I don't have to put car seats in it anymore.
Better hope not.
Yeah, right.
Okay, select board to review update drafts on rental registry.
So this has been the both the select board trustees have talked about weighing out a rental registry for some time now. At the last meeting of the trustees, they voted to have a joint public hearing, assuming the select board agrees, on August 12th at 6 p.m. Now, it is just my view, and I'm not trying to quell discussion on this at all, but I do think that it is in the best interest of the town and the boards and the public for this board to move to put that to a joint public hearing on the 12th. Because we have discussed, we have a document that has pros and cons to it, 2 documents at this point, which we have talked about at nauseum in meetings and have come back and forth and back and forth. And we could do that again tonight. But also, I think in the interest of moving this process forward, the board needs to at least push it to a public hearing, at which point, and just so people are aware, no decisions are made at public hearing. Changes can be made, discussion to have amongst the public, and that is the next step in this process, because ultimately, if we sit here and discuss this again, and changes are made here, we would have to come back and have a document that is then approved by this board for that public meeting. So there is another step in between this process. If we so wish to do that, not a problem. I'm just making, from where I sit, in the interest of, transparency and trying to effectively move this forward one way or the other. Again, moving it forward tonight to a public hearing by no means says it is or it isn't going to happen. It just puts it next to that forum where changes can be made rather than having to come back to another meeting to approve a document where changes were made tonight. At this point, I'll defer back to the chair.
My my recommendation would be move forward to the public informational meeting.
I'll make the motion that we send these 2 documents to the August 12th joint public hearing.
Okay. Second. Open for discussion.
Yeah, I think we're really close, and I think we've made a lot of really good progress. There's a few things here that I think need some tweaking, mostly formatting and just clear understanding of it. And I also just want to touch on the long-term stuff and just be clear on record of kind of where I see this going, and it's something that I have personal connection with because I've been in apartments in Ludlow. I am very much for long-term housing. We need it, but I think the whole goal of this was to look at safety, and I think even what's here, it's been really stripped down. I think it could go even a little bit more so. And I think the other piece that could be important to have in there, just in people's minds, is it came up in the trustees meeting where it was mentioned, hey, let's reach out to landlords in town to let them know this is going on so they can know about it. They can participate. Well, we don't know. we have no idea how many long-term rentals there are. And this could be a really solid data point along with short terms to really understand the housing market in Ludlow, where we're going, and all that. Yeah, just wanted to make those points, but I do think we're ready to bring it to the public and have some public comment.
Eric?
Thank you. Eric Alden, Trailside Road. Two things, if I could. I think the nature historically to go to a public hearing is that the board wanted a document that was ready to be voted on. It doesn't seem like that's the case yet. Looking at the document that was in the agenda, I think we're always one document behind. None of the changes that were reflected from the trustees meeting are in that document. So I think the document that's being presented may not be the document that's going to be going forward. So it seems historically that the boards have always wanted, the document that they feel 100% about to go to a public meeting. And I think that's not the case here tonight. And my second comment is, because this was on the agenda, I think a good majority of the folks that are here, which is probably 40 more than we usually get, are here to speak to this. So I think they should be given an opportunity to speak on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alden.
Okay, comments open to the floor. Bruce?
Bruce Schmidt. I agree with Eric, and I do think as a point of order, the chair you jump to a quick, so you're in discussion, you have a motion on the floor, but I think the chair should entertain allowing a little bit of time to give people an opportunity to, because it does say discuss, it does say select board to discuss, so you could argue that it's just amongst you all, but you've had some discussion from a member already talking about it. So I would encourage the board to consider seeing if there is some insight from some of the, residents and citizens of the town.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt.
It is open to the floor. So. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Yep.
I think this is the right night to do it. I don't know if to wait to the 12th, but since I'm here, let me just tell you how I feel about everything. I'm a landlord and manager of apartments here in Ludlow at 2325 Depot and at 156 Main Street. As long, I don't think, the long-term rental registry is something that I'm not in favor of. I feel that it's not the town's business to regulate my business. And no other town in the state of Vermont has a long-term rental registry in place, or it looks like they're not even planning on it, except for Ludlow. And as a landlord, I don't feel it's my right to disclose any of my tenants' information to anyone. An attorney doesn't disclose his client's information to the public. A doctor doesn't disclose his patient's information to the public, and as a landlord, I don't think it's my right to disclose my tenant's information to anybody else. I'm already under state regulations for safety and fire safety, so I'm already there. And every year my insurance company sends out an inspector to inspect my buildings to make sure I'm up to the code on everything. So I'm just saying I don't think the long-term rental registry is necessary. Thank you.
Okay, Don. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison.
Anybody else?
Hi there, Suzanne Garvey. I just wanted to pretty much state what Eric said, that I think the town, this process would be best served if we had a document that you were confident to put in front of the public. The ordinance that I'm reading that was in the packet for tonight, I don't know if that is the last one or not. I don't know the reference on that. But there's definitely a couple of things in there for sure. It's great. We've moved so, so far ahead here, but there are still some potential sticky points that if you put that to a public hearing, I think it could just really bat this all over the place. And that's just my opinion. I think that there's some issues, there's some items on there that I think deserve discussion before you do a public hearing. So that's my
Susan, can you
my
listen?
opinion. I, as a Realtor, have, I think it's a real mistake to put the permits, the septic permits, alongside this as a qualifying occupancy, to determine occupancy. There's, and the way the ordinance reads, if I understand, as we all know, that not all properties have septic permits in hand. They weren't required to be recorded before 2007. So as a Realtor, I run into it all the time, trying to find permits, to find that they're not on file, to then understand that, okay, now they're under what's called clean slate, which my understanding is whatever they are, be it a 3-bedroom or a 4-bedroom, that's what they are deemed to be. So if their septic were to fail and need repair, that property owner would be allowed to repair the system, not have to bring it totally up to current code, but be able to repair under clean slate. If they were to improve their building and add a bedroom or do anything extensive, my understanding is at that point they would have to apply for a wastewater state permit because they would no longer be able to ride under the clean slate. So you're going to have an administrator working with these registrations. There are a lot of inconsistencies depending on when permits were recorded or when they were designed. Some of the flow, I don't know why now, but it used to be that the flow was always designed for 2 people per bedroom. So a 5-bedroom was 10 people. Now, in recent years, these 5-bedroom permits consistently are 2 people per bedroom and then 1 person for subsequent bedrooms. So to have a rule of thumb that 2 people per bedroom, or there's just a lot of inconsistency there that just exists. And I see these permits all the time. So I know how hard it is, for myself as a professional doing this for almost 40 years, having to look up permits and deal with everything we have to deal with to determine, because we're obligated to, we're selling what something is permitted for. It doesn't matter how they live in it. They could have a study, an office, and they could live in those rooms. But when they go to sell it, if it's 3-bedroom, a 3-bedroom septic is a 3-bedroom house. If they don't have a septic permit, 3-bedroom, clean slate. So there's just a lot of variables that we run into on a purchase and sales piece, and with people that have been in the business for a long time, there's just a lot of variables, and I think that your administrator could get hugely caught up in that occupancy argument, and it would also undermine fire and safety's definitions and protocol for what they determine occupancy to be for that particular property. So I'll give you an example. I have a customer, because I have a rental business, I have a short-term rental business inside Edge. So I have a customer I met with. They never rented the house. I go in, it's a 5-bedroom house. They're sleeping like 14 people, but it's family and friends. They don't rent it. Now they want to rent it. So I introduced them over to Ben and his crew and Mike, and they have him come in, and they've decided to put a sprinkler system in, which is going to cost them about $65,000. So under this, if this ordinance goes through, if I understand it correctly, this homeowner is putting in a $65,000 system because fire and safety is saying you could sleep more people. They're going to sleep like 12, but really their fire and safety is going to let them sleep 14, 16. Under this ordinance, depending on their permit, the town's only going to let them sleep 8. Because that's what their septic permit may say. It might say 10, depending on if that was built earlier when the permits were 2 people per bedroom. But that's the kind of thing that I just think is just going to raise some heck. And I think putting that in front of the public, it's just, I think you're putting a lot on whoever is administering this, because that's a rabbit hole. So I don't, my thought is, why would you just not stay with the occupancy that fire and safety has already laid out for you, and let that be the determining number for occupancy, again, based on safety. I know there's concerns about septic. Everybody has concerns about septic. But again, so many of these properties are not lived in so much of the time that if they do have, occupancy for a few months consistently, and then the place sits empty for a number of months, I don't know. I've been doing this a long time, and I personally have never had a rental property have a septic issue while guests were in the house. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm sure it has happened, but in my experience, it is not frequent. I've had owners, having a property management business, I've definitely had owners have septic issues when they fill their house at Christmas time and there's an issue. I mean, it happens, I know, but if you're regulating the occupancy using fire and safety, I think that is a much cleaner way to go. And something I'd like to see put in front of the public. I think it would be an easier sell. The insurance piece is another piece that I don't fully understand, the requirements there. I guess I'm not an insurance person, but it just seems to me that if there were to be an incident at a private residence, is the town, and they're underinsured, is the town liable? Is that where that came from? Because I don't know where that came from, where we want to require. Was that?
Was the question I asked once, yes.
Yeah, the question is, it's yes?
Well, no.
I think we should let Ms. Garvey
Okay.
finish.
Well, anyway, like I said, I'm not an insurance person. I just trying to understand where that came from. And again, another piece to be implemented for this, this person that's going to be administrating, if you're talking about one person. And yeah, those are my 2 points. I mean, it's bravo, it's come a long way. I am for a registry. I've never been against a registry. I'm for it. I just want us to be clear that, we're doing this and it's, with safety in mind and not to be punitive. And that's where I'm coming from.
Thank you, Ms. Garvey.
Thanks.
Terry Carter, I live at 1824 South Hill, 1821, sorry. Planning Commission Chair, we have, Suzanne, in the last, how many board meetings have we had with the trustees and the select board? Are we up to 4 or 5? Eric had the question about, Scott had the question about insurance, and I had our lawyer look into it, Chris Callahan, and the town would not be held liable. Town immunity is limited to $100,000. This dates back to sovereign immunity. If it exceeds the town insurance, the limit takes precedence. So our lawyer weighed in on that. The only time sewer is looked at is when there are over 8 people in the dwelling. If there's under 8 people, then it's completely based on fire safety. And that's a change that we made along the way. Frank, I've stated at the village meeting that I'm not in favor of long-term rental regulation. There is one town in Vermont that does regulate long-term rentals, and that's South Burlington. But when I went and looked at the entire wording on that, mostly they're just regulating short-term rentals. I couldn't even find one paragraph about long-term rentals on there. So even that town is not regulating them because they come with so many regulations already. When I went on the state website, there's the renters have all kinds of rights and rules, and the owner also has all kinds of rights and rules, and there's all kinds of avenues for making sure they're following those rules. And what else do I want to address? Oh, and also I shared that Jason from Regional Planning weighed in. He's the chairman of the Regional Planning Commission, that why should we regulate long-term rentals when we are in a housing crisis? And Ludlow is one of those places where it is the worst housing crisis. And wouldn't it be a nice incentive not to regulate them, to encourage people that might decide to long-term rent instead of short-term rent, because they're not having to go through this whole process? I think that's about all I had.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Eric?
Eric Alden, Chelside Road. We hear the word regulating a lot. It's sort of fear-mongering. There's no regulating going on here for long-term rentals. Nothing in this ordinance prevents anyone from doing long-term rentals. It doesn't regulate it in any sense that they wouldn't be able to do them. Like the short-term rental, we're looking at safety. And sure, the insurance company comes out once every 5 or 10 years to check. Typically only when you first take a policy do they come out and inspect. Very rarely do they come out after that. So relying on the insurance company coming out to say that the place is safe is a false narrative. That just doesn't happen. There's no regulating going on. That's a fear tactic being used, that it would somehow limit long-term rentals. We want these folks to be safe. So in looking at it as long-term rental, short-term rental, it's the same process here. Same with the short-term. Nothing's regulating folks from doing short-term rentals. We want to make sure everyone's safe. That includes the full-time residents and the visitors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alden.
Suzanne?
So Terry, I just wanted some clarity. So you're suggesting that the permit be necessary for short-term that is occupancy of more than 8?
Sewer comes in.
Sewer comes in for more than 8.
Is mentioned in the lease agreement in 71. That's all
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah,
The
yeah.
occupancy for over 8 only.
Okay. So, I'll just bring the scenario that I talked about, where someone's right now putting in a sprinkler system complying with fire and safety, and they are going to be restricted because they're going to be restricted to 8, or whatever their permit says, because it will be over 8. That's why they're putting their sprinkler in. So the properties, and there's more than a couple, that have put sprinkler systems in, even though the state of Vermont says you're good to go. In fact, the state of Vermont doesn't, and if Ben's still here, he could speak to it, but my understanding is if it's sprinkler, there is not a cap on the occupancy. The place is sprinkler. So, not saying there shouldn't be, but, again, it has to have proper egress and all of that, I suppose. I'll let Ben speak to that, but, you're stepping over what fire and safety says is safe, and that doesn't make sense to me. And you can have a 1-bedroom that might only have sewer capacity, septic capacity for 4 people, but if they have proper egress and safety in place up to 8, that 4-person permit could be sleeping 8. So to cut it off at 8 and make that your the line that you're going to require that the permit determine occupancy it just seems random to me. Because you can have a smaller place still sleep 8. So.
Thank you, Ms. Garvey.
Could you please state your name?
Dana Martillo. How you doing? I bought my house here about 13 years ago. I'm still considered a secondary homeowner. I've seen my taxes double since I've been a member of the community, although I can't vote on anything. But in recent months, I'm considering investing in a property. I'm gonna speak solely on the registry itself. The registry itself, in my belief, would be a deterrent from people buying here. I haven't bought a house yet. I could just as easily go to Mount Holly, go to Plymouth, go to Proctorsville, and they're still in spitting distance of the mountain. Or I could go to Killington, because Killington's still making a killing every winter. It seems like you are trying to beat a dead horse. You know what I mean? I'm already gonna be paying probably double the taxes of a local if I invest in Ludlow because of the non-resident education tax for the investment property. So now you're gonna tax me an extra 3% because it's a short-term rental, and then 9%, and then you wanna tax me a local 1%, and I have to be on this registry. I'm just speaking from an outside observer that this could be a deterrent from people wanting to invest in the town. And you know that the short-term rentals every winter bring in a slew of revenue because they're going to the restaurants, they're paying for food, they're paying for alcohol, they're spending money on the mountain. It's just something to consider. You don't want to deter people. I understand you want safety factors, right? You want fire safety, you want septic, you want water. I get that. When I bought my house, I wasn't able to buy it until it was up to fire code. So those are things that are already going to be in place when you purchase the location. You know what I mean? I just feel like a registry, which was brought to my attention just recently, is going to be a deterrent for future investors. That's just something to think about.
Thank you, Ms. Martell.
Nope, go ahead.
Dorsey, Montana Court, North Shore Drive. What?
What was your name?
Dorsey, Montana Court.
Could you spell your last name, please?
It's a long one. You got MONTENECOURC. Just wanted to comment on whether, or ask really a question around the permitting. Is it about the well, or I mean, these are things that are probably in the minutes. Are we talking about town water? Are we talking about well water? And to Dana's point, I think that there's both sides of this issue. For me, as a relatively new homeowner, as a resident of Ludlow, I'm still a resident. But it's like, I think it's the key concern is really safety, and also what's going to be best for the entire town, like as an ecosystem, and that's, you know, that's a big thing to, you know, to discuss right now. But my perspective is that I'm kind of caught in between in a lot of these issues. Like, for example, Susan mentioned this part about like septic issues not happening to short-term renters or rental properties. That's absolutely happened to me personally when I'm primarily trying to afford to stay in Ludlow, you know, and for me, that's a lot, you know, it's a lot for all these issues. But basically, I think that for my point is about whether it's town or you know, town or septic, or like when these fees come into play, because you're talking a lot about fees. And you know, you brought up Killington. Somebody brought up Killington. I think as somebody who has lived in a couple of different towns as both part-time and, you know, as a homesteader and a non-homesteader, I think there's ways of looking at the case, the use case that's very specific to the Okemo Valley and to this little, you know, area that we have. And I feel like infrastructure is a big issue that I've seen. So net, I think more, I'm standing up more like to question and to want to get involved in this process as somebody who is seeing and hearing a lot of these things for the first time. So, yeah, that's just, I'm just sort of N of one here.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Well,
Go ahead.
just real quick, the motion is to set the meeting for August 12th, and I think we'll get to that in a minute. I did want to make a point that Mr. Alden raised, which is the long-term rental portion of this document was not updated, reflective of the village trustee meeting prior week ago. So before we make this vote, I want to be clear that we need to discuss the long-term rental changes that were made.
I did make them.
I don't see the,
I sent them along, but I think an older one was supposed to be done.
the main gist of it is
Just wanted to add the penalties, and I added
enforcement.
that in,
Yeah.
but did not add in the one that doesn't apply to know about advertising. I did add that all in.
And Mr. McNamara, you have that document?
I have what was provided to what's in the packet, so.
I sent it to him right after our meeting ended this morning too, but see, this is the one we're
Thank you.
taking the public hearing. It does
I would
have
like
penalties.
to introduce this to the members of the select board. Your version does not have that table on it.
And Frank, I wanted to tell you too that I did take the renter's information off of there because of your feedback.
That was also discussed, the tenants.
Short-term rental and off of the long-term rental. But it's
So what I'm looking at still has tenant information.
And I think, if
It's
I,
the newest document that's updated with the
if I
table as
may,
well.
I would have seen that earlier.
Yeah.
why this is, what the confusion is here is, again, that we've gone down this road before, and the practice has been that the document that was proposed to the trustees is the document that is proposed to the select board. You are not getting the changed document from the trustees. That's not the way this process is gonna work. So why this becomes, I'm gonna clarify something that I said earlier. And again, I would, by talking about pushing this to a public hearing, by no means trying to tell people not to discuss things. That's the way these things are supposed to work. My point being, and I might have gone over, is that this is listed as a joint document by the trustees and the select board together. So by having meetings that aren't joint meetings, we're really just playing tennis here. So I guess that's more to my point, is that by going to a joint meeting, and we can call it a joint meeting, we don't have to call it a public hearing. I don't care. It's more of moving this into a more effective way, that, because there are, two people here, well, Julie's here, Bob is not, but there's two people here that, from the trustees, that need to be involved in this conversation, because ultimately, we're just gonna go back to the trustees and have the same conversation. One of the reasons we're trying to merge the town and the village. Case in point, if anybody has any questions about the merger, watch this meeting. So it's, that, I guess that's my point, is that this isn't, if we don't wanna have a public hearing, if we're not comfortable there.
Public meeting.
Fantastic. If we want to call it a joint public meeting where we address the document as a group, that might be the way to go, because discussion can be had there, and that's not necessarily saying, here, this is the document we want you to vote on. But I just feel, and again, just my point of view, that we have a document, yes, changes were made, absolutely, and they were good changes that were made. We had a two-hour discussion last Tuesday at the trustees meeting. It was a great meeting. But then and I've said to Terry and I've said to the board, I don't feel it's right to then give an updated document to this board and say, hey, these changes were made, they were voted on, if you don't like them. So we kind of have done this to ourselves, and I'll take the blame, that we're having meetings that go back and forth, where really, because at the top of the ordinance or the registry, it says town and village. It should be done together, period. Just my 2 cents. And again, that wasn't not done out of malice to say I don't want to talk about it, but just kind of.
But we did call it a public hearing, I was strong, because that's what the trustees voted on. The meeting I was strong is a
It could be, but if they can, they have a meeting tomorrow where they could rescind that if they want to. Yeah, they have a meeting for the tax rate, so if the trustees wanted to do that, they could do that. And again, those meetings can always be canceled.
We have gone back and forth on this a lot of time, and we've done public meetings. I think, as presented, this board, and I can speak for myself on the trustees, feel good presenting this to the public, to have public discourse and discussion moving forward in these open meetings.
George?
So we had a joint meeting before, right? And we had a very long discussion, which involved a lot of community members. And at least from my understanding, it was sent back to each board to put forth to the public hearing. It was kind of where we had left that last joint meeting off. You know, is when we had the last joint board meeting. And we had a very productive conversation. I'm glad that you guys had another productive conversation to hopefully answer some more questions. But my perspective is that the public hearing is where you can go and, instead of spending 2 hours saying, oh, I don't like this word or that word, have the boards together and we can make those changes. Everyone can be happy or not happy, and then each board can vote, you know, move forward on it.
I think that's a great idea.
Because my issues are, it's not huge things, but it's definitions, it's some word choices, it's some of that stuff that, you know, and we have gone back and forth with, okay, we want these changes, and then the trustees and we don't even know what document we're looking at.
The town and the village, as Brendan said, is
yeah.
like tag, left hand and right hand of trying to play with each other. And
So I don't know how we call it, but it still needs some refining, but I think this is solid to have people participating.
I'm going to leave soon, so I'll be last time up here. So you're acting like you're merged. And there's been enough times in this community where the trustees and the town haven't been on the same page. You read the minutes from that trustee meeting, they're not supportive of long-term rental, and you got it in this packet. So how are you going to get together and say, you know, they go on record of saying we are not in support of that long-term rental. So I guess I would just ask, if you're going to do it together, you probably got to decide, and I'd tell this board to figure out whether you want long-term rental or not. You know, because it's evident that there is definitely, the planning commission doesn't want it, trustees don't want it. Does this board want it? And if not, take it out, get rid of it. You know, make a decision. And but I don't think this is ready. I think you're going to go back to a 2-hour meeting on the 12th, and you're going to come back again, and then Terry's going to have to make more changes, and we're going to keep going like that. At some point, you got to be like, here it is, you're going to have to vote on it. So it's not an easy situation, but I would not be going on this premise that the select board and the trustees have to be on the same page, because they don't have to be.
I appreciate that, Mr. Schmidt. Right. I'd like to just speak on behalf of what was just said, because I am a trustee, serving member. There is a little bit of unclarity or opaqueness in the trustees' positions. I think some people are open and some people are closed off to the long term, hence why it's a second document going before a public meeting to let the folks decide. I feel like we have gone through this for multiple hours, and I actually feel like it's a pretty completed document due to all of our discourse over the past couple months. And I know there's a motion standing, so I'll yield.
Any other discussion on the motion that stands? That we move forward with the joint meeting, yeah. Oh.
And this is just an observation that I'm going to share. I understand the opposition to the long term being seen as a deterrent. I don't know why it would be a deterrent for someone renting long term. I go into properties all the time, and I'm going to echo what Noah said. And I'll share, I recently went into a property to do an opinion of value, and there were a couple apartments that quite honestly look beautiful, and like they short-term rental them, Airbnb, they just looked really nice. Got into the other apartment where there's year-round people living there. There was an infant, a toddler, not a smoke detector to be found. Things piled up in front of doors, things piled up in front of windows. So if we don't want a long-term registry, what are we going to do to make sure that our properties are safe? Because not every landlord follows the rules, and not every renter necessarily wants somebody tromping through their place. It's an education issue. And I can tell you, the people who are living in that place have, they probably have no idea what danger that they're in, like, with not, and I had another agent with me, no smoke detector. We didn't take the list and we said, show us your fire and safety for all the apartments, and we'll talk to you about an opinion of value. And we got screamed at, and someone else listed it. So.
Thank you, Ms. Garvey.
Okay, anybody else, Frank? So we have a motion and a second to move forward on the public hearing on the 12th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Guys opposed? Ayes have it. Review and propose vendor food truck ordinance.
So this is another ordinance that we have been discussing, more so the trustees have been discussing this, because at this point, it really has more of a profound effect on the village, within the village limits, but it is also something that obviously the select board needs to be aware of. You have had a copy of it, you have discussed it. Again, we're not looking for any sort of a vote tonight or a motion. This is more of just an informal formal discussion, question session. The trustees will be having a public hearing on the food truck ordinance as presented in your packet on August 5th at 5:30. That'll be downstairs. So at this point, I will kick back to the chair.
Terry?
I just wanted to mention a change that, I'm not sure which one you have in there. Well, I should, because Brendan just explained the whole thing. You probably have the older one, but a change that we made with the village trustees last Tuesday was to not require them to be 200, or at this point it was at 300 feet from another restaurant, because we feel like we already have things in place with the maximum 2 days. They'll be coming and going and not be permanently set up like a restaurant. With those other things that we put in there, and a maximum of 30 days an entire year. So we took that out, the distance part of it.
Okay.
Because we figured out they wouldn't be allowed anywhere in town if we left it in there. And we don't want to eliminate them, we just want to update our ordinance, make it more, yeah.
Yeah, so it's nothing really concerning us. So.
Thank you, Ms. Carter.
Terry, with the requirements for zoning, is there any place that would have adequate parking to have a food truck in the town, in the village of Ludlow?
Because every single permit has different parking requirements. So you have, this ordinance requires a approval from the zoning administrator. So their permit will be pulled, and they'll see if they can have a food truck on their premises or not. I mean, if they're permitted to be a gas station, then they shouldn't have a food truck on their premises.
So they need a specific zoning permit to say I can host food trucks?
No, they just have to, they have to take a look at the permit to see if they're allowed or not. You know, if they're allowed, if the gas station also has a kitchen and serves food and all that stuff, then it's different. But if they contract that in and people just come with the food and they don't have a kitchen.
So if you have a permit as a restaurant, you can bring a food truck in?
Well, I don't know. You have to look at the permit. Each permit is different. The DRB specifies what the permit's going to say. But the point is they need to be looked at. Also, the food truck people came to the meeting, and some of the things that they were saying does not show that they have any idea what they're supposed to do health-wise with the state of Vermont. When they're talking about dumping gray water in this, you know, in the Sunoco building, and they're talking about getting water from Sunoco, those two things are not allowed for food trucks from the state of Vermont. And if they had all those credentials that they need to have to operate a food truck, they wouldn't be telling us they're doing that.
Okay.
I just have a few things, just for the record, not that we're really doing anything about it, but name, address, telephone number of employees. I don't know why you need to know the employees' info. Description of food items sold. It seems like that maybe we're dictating what stuff can sell. Liability insurance of adding the town of Ludlow as additionally insured. Is that even doable for insurance company? The existing permits, I'm just curious if this limits food trucks across the board just because of the permits. And then if you are not allowed to dump water in private or public sewer basins, you need to have your own sewer basin or catch basin?
Yeah, most food trucks will have their own gray water tank, I believe.
Well, just dispose of gray water.
Yeah.
So I was assuming that's dumping your tank, so.
Yeah, they are supposed to do that off of their location.
So they need a brick and mortar,
Yes, they can't do it at that location.
but they can't do it on any privately owned catch basins either.
They wouldn't technically be able to do it at Sunoco or that property that they made that agreement with, unless that property had the proper wastewater permit.
Got it, so it's
My
not
understanding.
saying in general, just on a property specific, okay,
That's just my understanding of it.
cool. That's all I got.
Okay. Oh,
Points.
Jay?
Just a question. I do believe there was an ordinance in town, village, about the size of signs that restaurant businesses have to abide by.
Yep.
In essence, the food truck does not abide by that ordinance. The food truck is one big billboard. Now, if they're allowed to do that, then other businesses here in town and in the village should be allowed to increase their signage to give their business a better chance of visibility. For example, Little Mexico and the other businesses that preceded Little Mexico wanted to put a sign up by 103 to advertise, and they were not allowed to do this. But yet this food truck can come in, park at the gas station with this huge signboard. And I think they should have to abide by whether they close up part of that advertising, because it's gonna turn into, like many other cities and towns, allow this, it just becomes one big line of food trucks competing against one another, and it becomes a mess. So it just, something that occurred to me after the meeting last week, we talked about, we never talked about it. It just does not seem to follow guidelines here.
Thank you. Ms. Carter, perhaps you can speak better to this.
Well, some people require them to take their signs in when they're not operating. They make them, the signs have to be removable, and you need to take them in when they're not in business. But that's not in our regulations.
Excuse me, Mrs. Carter, you said some people require.
Some towns, some towns in Vermont.
I think he may have been addressing the fact that the vehicle itself is a big
Such a something.
billboard.
The vehicle, I'm assuming, is exempt from sign ordinances.
It's not from everything right now, because our ordinance is from 2008.
But there are larger, it's my understanding that if there's a vehicle or an inoperable item, that it can be turned into a mural or a sign or something, as the current way that our ordinance is written. That's my understanding of it.
And state of Vermont doesn't have any signage requirements online anyway that I saw. It
Te-
wasn't part of their, their health and safety stuff.
town of Ludlow's is all based off of square footage. That's the best description. I don't know the number. I forget the exact number without looking at the regulations. Yeah.
Good point, thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Review and possible approved bids, transfer station compactor.
So first on this list is the transfer station. Again, it was going to be the backhoe replacement, but it has come to light that in the last relatively short period of time that our MSW compactor at the transfer station is literally on its last legs, needs to be replaced immediately. So we will be able to probably fund most of this with some of the ARPA funds that were used for the bathroom, because it wasn't necessarily, so that is where we're going with this. The cost of the compactor is in the neighborhood of $31,000, but obviously needs to be replaced, because if that doesn't work, we're out of business. We did receive 2 quotes. One, the low bid was from Alva Waste, who is our new hauler for the transfer station. So that is what we went with. Again, due to the emergency nature of this, the compactor's already been ordered. So it is in the works. Kind of doing my due diligence here as an FYI, because I was assuming the board would support having to do this. We don't have a choice.
Yeah, we don't have a choice. Thank you for bringing it up to us.
Are they gonna do the cement deal, so the
Yes,
water
they will
doesn't?
do everything.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Now, in terms of your spending power, you have 5,000 that you can do. So are you looking for general consensus?
Please.
You have mine.
Thank you.
Yes.
General consensus of the board, okay.
Yeah.
One question in regards to the backhoe, though. I don't wanna Patty feel like we're leaving her high and dry.
No, and I've talked with Patty.
Okay.
I just want to be sure, because I know what we have, and Patty and I talked about it today.
Okay.
She's aware that we're going to come back to this in August.
And are these bids gonna be good in August?
Yes.
Okay.
And while we're on it, we did not budget for that pretty significant expense of the backhoe. Thoughts about that? Is that,
So between what our plans for that is that we are going to lease that backhoe at probably, let's call it $26,000 per year per lease payment, in that range. Between what Patty has generated in revenue from cardboard and recycled cans, we will cover those costs.
great.
So that's really the extent of it. We didn't want to go into, and the goal being as well, and one thing as we come back to this, we've talked about capital plans, capital improvement plans. It's one thing that has been brought up at meetings, has been discussed at length, because the transfer station is one. The transfer station does not have a capital improvement line. Doesn't. The fact that we, don't put away $7,000 a year for the transfer station like we do for highway, which we do for fire, PD, et cetera, because now this happened and we're staring down $31,000 for a compactor. That's something we'll do this budget season, but again, I wouldn't have just gone out. We said, yeah, we know we can float this cost with pretty nice if we can do it with returning cans. That's like what my son's trying to pay for a new e-bike with. So we're just trying to pay for a backhoe.
Yeah.
So isn't also part of it that technically the transfer station pays highway to do some of their work?
Yeah.
So that would, in theory, wouldn't be shuffling money in-house?
We wouldn't be shuffling money around to have them, they'd be able to use it.
Okay.
That's been one of my battles in the past.
Oh,
Like the
in-house,
backhoe,
yeah.
for instance, gets split between
Yeah.
water and sewer and the town,
Yeah.
because they both use it. And I've always tried to push with every other town manager that a portion of that backhoe should come out of the transfer station, because we should be justifying the cost of what it costs to operate every
Yeah.
facility.
Because they do a lot, and, but having them, and one of the other benefits of them having having their own piece of equipment is, they're gonna do their own snow removal.
Right.
They'll plow everything.
Yeah, town guys go in.
Won't have
open
to
it up
worry
and
about-
Open it up
yep.
in the morning
And
so
that's-
they can
and
get
that's-
in and
yep.
then they clean it up.
Yeah. So, all right, so we have a consensus for the compactor.
Yeah. So East Hill paving,
East Hill paving bid. So we put out, last year we did half of East Hill. If you recall, last year we had some discussion regarding who we were going to go with for a vendor because there was some concern over the mix was not virgin mix. It was called wrap. Basically had recycled asphalt in it. It does meet state specs. I think it's 75%. We put this out per the RFP that it was 100% virgin mix. The reason for that as well is we have some severe concerns that the work that is done, and the company that did the work last year is gonna come back and crack seal it, but in the middle of East Hill Road, it's already starting to separate. Very well could be because of the mix was not 100% virgin. There could be 7 different opinions on that, but, so that being said, we did put out the RFP that stated virgin mix only. The only bid, we listed all the contractors that provided bids. The only company that provided a virgin mix was Fuller Paving at $92.38 a ton. So that would be the recommendation of myself as well as Ron Tarbo from the highway.
Everyone else didn't follow the RFP?
They did not, because some of them do not have
Oh,
the capability to do it.
Okay.
So,
When is this planned to happen?
this fall.
Is any of this where that potential solar project would be?
yep.
Yes. So there will be that discussion is being had, because obviously with that amount of traffic on new pavement, may not be great.
Yeah. And yeah, so I don't know if it could wait or
Yeah.
they could pay for it.
Make a motion to approve Fuller Paving.
Second?
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it. Screened winter sand.
Sand, so the way this is, we really have 2 options here. We kind of looked at, obviously, we get loaded and we get delivered. The low bid for what we looked at it right now for is delivered from M&M Excavating for $22.50. With the way we are right now with trucks and staffing, it's probably our due diligence to have it delivered so we know it's here. But if it needs to be loaded, it's $16 a yard, and the pit is just down the road. But we're going off of the low bid for delivered, which is $22.50.
Go ahead, Mr.
Is this new, delivered?
Huh?
No.
We've always had it delivered.
No, we haven't always had it
It's been
delivered.
a
We mix, it's
combination of
been
both.
half and half, probably.
Cool.
I would actually like to make a motion for Neil H. Daniels Construction. That way, it's a little bit more delivered, yes, but if we do load it, we save a decent amount of money per cubic yard.
The only, and I understand what the loaded though, is that they're also in Amsden, Vermont. So we're
Which is-
traveling over past Downers
Yeah,
to pick it up versus
which is
In
close.
town.
on 100.
I
But
mean, at a
that's-
cubic yard, you're at 350 swing.
Is it, how much do you think we got delivered versus picked up last year?
I'd have to
Yeah.
look. I mean, I can get you those numbers and we could table this until August, but.
I mean, because I remember last year Ron was like, we're gonna go get it all.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and he didn't.
and, well, no, but I mean, that's a frank I mean,
Right.
I gotta back up Justin in that regard is.
I understand.
The
We have
price
the
difference.
option. The price
The price
difference.
difference is
Yeah.
pretty significant.
Yeah.
And to add, if you attribute that the trip to Amsden's all flat versus
What
going up the hill.
I'm curious, what is, and it'd be good to get a number on it, what is the cost of us running trucks to go do that, insurance, wear and tear on vehicles, that potential
That's why he
risk?
said it's in Amsden. I still think at 350 a cubic yard, though, it's,
I guess from my perspective, it's a question to Ron, you know, does Ron think we can get 20%, 50%, 80%? I mean,
Then we can, by all means, table this until August,
you want to do that?
and I can get a,
I'd like to hear from Ron.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, I
I'd
mean,
like to
that-
do that,
that's-
too.
I'll ask Ron to come.
I'll rescind my,
You gotta look at the product too.
Yeah.
well, I assume they had to meet the same spec? I know usually in the RFP
Right.
process, they're supposed
Yeah.
to submit their state spec.
Yeah, but you saw just what happened to the paving, didn't you?
Sure,
How
it
many
can be
bids you
fake,
got?
it can be
How
faked.
many bids you got?
Sure, I agree.
None of
Did
them
any
matched
of
it.
those match that? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Chair, I would like to make a motion to table this until the August select board
Okay,
meeting.
do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it. Fire Department 5K review and possible approval.
So this is the annual 5K that the fire department puts on. It begins at the community center, goes up Doug Road, comes down. It does touch a small portion of the town. The village approved it last week. Third year running? I think third year. Should be it's a very positive event for the community.
Make a motion.
Very well attended, too.
Very well.
Great for the community. Make a motion.
And
to
you're
approve.
probably looking at the winner. I mean, just saying. Yeah, just saying. I'm pretty quick.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion.
Justin.
Justin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it. Approved solid waste district representative.
So we just
Looking
need
at 'em?
to read.
Yep, I make that motion.
You are looking at him. Yeah, thank you.
Make a motion, we approve, appoint Brendan McNamara.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yep, no. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it. Review and approve the FY '26 tax rate.
So you have the tax rate, as Ula did the calculations late last week, indicated tax rate for this year, or last year, I'll give you last year first. Last year was .3169. This year is .3278. We did get the educational rates, so the non-homestead rate is 1.8461, and the homestead education rate is 1.9835. I will just quickly give you last year's, so homestead education rate this year, 1.9835. Last year was 1.6627, so significant increase there.
Big increase.
Non-homestead, 1.8461 this year. Last year was 1.7895. So again,
just, sorry to interrupt you, but for public record, last year, the non-homestead rate was a little bit higher than the homestead education rate.
correct.
This year, the homestead education rate is significantly higher than the
Is
non-homestead rate.
13 cents high, 13.47. So what we come with for our tax rate that is put before you right now is a homestead rate of 2.3113 and a non-residential of 2.1739.
Is it the state that does the,
Yes.
Education, absolutely.
is there a reason why they increased homestead so much? And
Take it
not-
up with your
Not
representatives.
non-homestead?
You know, that is,
Oh, it's just interesting it's flipped.
They set that rate at the state level, and we as a town can't adjust that. How many people in the country can do this math, by the way, the education?
5.
Yeah, there's
So,
like no
so
people in the
if you
world
ask
that
a
can do
state rep who votes on this to explain it in even the simplest terms, they are unable. I've asked everyone.
Everybody should listen to this part of the select board meeting right now.
No,
If you're worried about property tax rates.
I asked because I was curious, and they could not explain it to me. And they said there's 5 people in the country who understand how this math works.
Scary.
and I think that it goes, you look at what the town's
Yeah.
municipal tax rate, minuscule increase,
We did our,
We
yeah,
did, we tried to do our due
0.32
diligence.
from
But,
0.31.
at sometimes we're, unfortunately, we're held at the mercy of the education rate when it comes in.
George, go the other 4.
It ain't me. I'm just a lowly Black River High School educated individual.
Hey, we got a good education.
Yeah, we did.
So, obviously, has a select board ever not approved a tax rate?
Maybe.
I don't know, ask Ula.
Well, has the select board ever not approved the tax rate?
Increase. I think my taxes went up like $40 for the year, but this year it's going to be a little different.
Yes, I did hear that, Ula, thank you. And there are some changes coming down the pike in terms of education for year 27 too, so keep abreast of that. I'll make a motion to approve the tax rate.
Second.
Any other discussion? Being it, no other discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it. Municipal manager update.
Oh, wait, there was consider waiving late fees.
Oh, yeah, so that's the other piece. We need to consider waiving the fees for late homestead filing.
I make that motion.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guys opposed? Guys have it.
Just a few quick things from me. Just wanted to lead off by, last Friday was Rose Going's final day as ZA for the town of Ludlow after 27 years here in town. So a tremendous thanks to Rose for her time here in Ludlow. My only regret is we didn't work together longer. But I thank her for what she helped me through in my start here. But I hope she'll enjoy her retirement because it is well deserved. So
Thank you, Rosemary.
Kudos to Rose.
Thank you.
Spoke today with Du Bois and King regarding the dam rehabilitation for sites 3 and 5. Those are both have approached the 30% design phase. Surveying's being done, so those are 3 and 5. That's tremendous progress, continuing to move forward. They are going to begin surveying site 2 as well, and doing some borings for soil samples, which we are now, all the years of soil samples are now kept in the basement here. They dropped them off because we have to hold them. I didn't realize it was about 30 buckets of soil. Kevin McPherson was not overly impressed with me, but such is life.
That's great news. 30% is
Yeah, 30%.
huge milestone.
It's a big piece. Fireworks this past Saturday, large success, well attended. Sounded like it was good weather, good turnout. One thing we might look for, the only feedback I saw after was we might need a little traffic control afterwards. There was a large flow of traffic coming off the hill, but that's something that's minor. Chief Warfel and I have already spoken about that, so.
I heard it was better than Killington's traffic, so.
That's all right.
I heard the show was better too.
Show was nice.
And last, merger timeline update. So just to give us kind of an update of where we are. Copies of the proposed merger will be posted on July 9th in all 3 public places. Hearings, the notice will run the 23rd, 30th, and 6th, and those will be run in the Vermont Journal. We're looking to warn the vote on the 7th or 8th of August with public hearings for the village on August 14th and the town on August 13th. So those is where it stands right now. We're going to stay with that timeline, but things are looking like we're moving forward with a potential vote of the town and village to vote on the merger on the 16th of September. So moving forward.
September?
Yeah.
Same day.
Excuse me a second. I thought you said the vote was on August
7th or 8th.
To warn.
Warn the vote.
Okay, thank you.
And when was the public hearing?
First public hearing, we have to have two. So
Okay.
the first public hearing is the 13th for the town and the 14th for the village,
Okay.
August?
August. That is all I have.
I gotta enter in these. Every night I leave, I get more and more meetings that I have to put in.
Right?
Jack 'em in.
I can't even see my color.
Are we on to other business yet?
Oh, we don't know if he's done yet.
I'm
He
done.
said he was
Oh,
done, yeah.
Okay, other business.
Boy, I just had one for you, Mr. McNamara, and I'm drawing a blank.
Too many meetings?
Yeah, it might come to me. Give me 1 second. Oh, we're coming up on budget season already, which is always kind of a lot of work. So, kind of two things. I wanted to maybe start thinking about what the high school building, the old high school building, is going to look like for that upcoming budget. And I also wanted to think about what the old Timber Inn property could be used for, if anything.
Very limited, but
It's got
Well,
a,
I know,
has a
but, like,
planting plan we have to follow. or
You could
should
do
follow.
that. It's my understanding that we could do a bike path that's not a permanent fixture. We could make it a green space. Plant a bunch of trees for the.
There is a planting
we have a
diagram.
planting diagram.
There's a ton of different options, and because it's right there on Main Street driving in, it'd be nice to
Could be encompassed with Sam's,
utilize it
which
in
is,
some way. Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, possible items for next meeting? Oh, Eric?
Everybody left, they won't hear me speak. Eric Alden, Trailside Road, thank you. Just three quick things. As Mr. Hydrick just mentioned, budget season is coming up. So you've heard me say this a million times, but I really think the town, it's in the town's best interest to do a capital needs assessment for every department in every building that the town owns. You know, the new fire chief has done an incredible job coming in and really revamping and planning for the first time that I've seen, 10, 20 years out, which is important. New police chief is, starting the same process, really planning out. The town's been caught a lot over history with surprise major expenses. A lot of that can be eliminated with a capital needs assessment. It's mandatory. It's a mandatory item in every town to understand what their future capital expenses are. So I'd ask that the board and the town manager really think about that this season to get that ball rolling in every department. Transfer station, fire department's got it, DPW's got some, but even the town buildings, you have to plan for the future on this stuff. Second point, with the retirement of the zoning administrator, I'd like to ask the town and this board to, take this as an opportunity to really revamp that office, really think about how it runs, and bring in a town planner, to really work through items that are important, that move the needle for the town. Infrastructure, housing, public safety. The planning commission spins its wheels on a lot of this stuff. Every 7 years, they come up with a new town plan. But the town plan is the same town plan that it was last time and the time before. And none of those action items or goals really get put into motion. We all need sidewalks. We know a lot of this stuff. So let's take the opportunity to rethink the zoning office and what they do, and also the whole permitting process. Somehow the DRB has become the dumping ground for a number of projects and permits that really shouldn't even go in front of them. You know, it's just it's a time waste, it's a cost. You know, if folks are repainting their house or replacing boards on a deck, that stuff doesn't need to go in front of the DRB. You know, that's something that the zoning office could take care of. And lastly, and this plays into the zoning office also, if the rental registry goes through at the current rates of $600 and the town ends up with $600,000 or $700,000, I'd really like to think about a program that specifically earmarks that into housing. And there's a couple of ways we can do this. Some programs that I'm involved in other areas where we have a sub-agency of the town. We purchase properties, we renovate them, and we rent them, deed restricted, low income. In perpetuity, that's the way it stays. We also have programs where if someone owns a home that's older that needs renovations, the town can provide money to do those renovations in exchange for a deed restriction that says you're going to rent these affordably, and HUD sets those rates, you know, for 20 years, 25 years, whatever the term is. And I'd be willing to talk through that and help with that. I think that would really be a way you could justify the fees for that, and also start knocking off a serious problem, the number one problem that you hear every single meeting, that everyone says, is housing, affordable housing. Let's take that opportunity for the short-term registry, if that's the fee, if that's $600,000 or $700,000 is going to come in, to use that to good use by creating some sort of housing authority, housing situation, low-income housing, affordable housing, and there's a million different ways to do that. There's dozens of abandoned buildings in this town that you don't even realize. We could take those funds, rehab those buildings, and they're there long-term for affordable rents forever. Let's think about, you know, how best to use that money, you know, that will really make a change, you know, for the public good. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Appreciate that input, thank you.
Okay, anything other possible items for next meeting? All good?
Yeah, we'll have some.
Sign warrant orders are done. Executive session personnel contract.
Briefly.
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
You guys in favor of that? Yeah, right, we'll do that.
All those in favor, so I didn't hear a second.
Somebody said it.
I did.
Yeah.